What's going on, guys? It's Tony K with UGSM, living the dream as always, and today I'm going to do a summary video of our experience this past weekend at Arts in the Park in Danville, Illinois. So, Arts in the Park is one of the bigger events that takes place in Danville, and this was a really unique experience for us. This is our first time doing it, and there's a lot of things to unpack from. First thing is, it was hot. And when I say hot, I mean like mid 90s both days. It was crazy hot. Another thing is there was only about 20 vendors. So because it's a more of an art show kind of thing, they're a little bit more selective. There was actually an applying and approval process we had to go through, as well as a competition I'll talk about in just a moment. Our booth itself, we leaned more into my paintings and whatnot. You can see the small table in the front there has Allie's stuff. Here's a better view of it. You see she's got two sets of earrings up, the necklaces, some of the keychains that she and I have both made, her coasters, and the magnet tray at the bottom. Also, right here, this bowl has one of her newest things. She's taking some of her lower priced earrings and she's cutting ribbon and putting them on those. And just throwing them all in a bowl. It was really cool, and it got a lot of attention. We sold several pairs of those. For this event, I also changed up our display a little bit. I did kind of this three container breakdown here. The wind was pretty harsh and strong, so I had to tape down a lot of the signage or things that weren't individually priced. Had to have a little extra support on. So, as a summary for the weekend, I actually had one of my best weekends of sales ever. I think I sold 13 paintings, including one sale that was 5 paintings in one sale. So that was a really cool feeling and a accomplishment that I'm very proud of. However, there are some things that just wasn't crazy about. The weather, but that's not the coordinator's fault. The weather was miserable. The weather combined with how much it cost to get in and how much time we had to be there made it a very tough weekend. So check this out. Okay. It costs $200 to do this event. You get $100 back at the end of the second day. What that gets you is entry into the event, about 16 hours of open and operating time, and entry into the art competition that they have. I did not care for the art competition. First off, I don't paint out of competition or like to compete against other artists. That's not something I've ever really considered. I don't think I'm that good compared to some of these other artists. And then also, I've never created art with the intention of being competitive, I guess. We also looked online, and maybe it's because we just didn't ask the coordinator from the start, but the rules weren't very clear. I actually made a piece specifically for this event, and we found out literally the morning of. The judges, there's two, are going to walk to every booth, and they're going to place you in a category that they want, and then they're going to judge your entire booth. Did not win, so maybe that's why I'm a little salty. I don't even think I'm salty, but we did not win. What I will say, though, is the people, with the exception of one person, the people who got the ribbons for winning did not have a great sales weekend. So another way to look at it is 75% of the winners, because they had 4 categories, 75% of the winners, that ribbon was like a mark of death. Now, I'm not saying any of these things to be negative towards the people who put the event on. We know a lot of them. And they're cool people. It's just this is the event they've always done. And the board that puts the event together, from what we've been told, and I actually almost volunteered for this board a few years ago, but thankfully I didn't. They change who the president is every year. So, like a couple years ago, it was you just apply and you get in. This year, it was you have to apply and be accepted. And the price for it, from what we've been told, has changed multiple times over the year. My only real problem there is that such a high buy-in point makes it hard for a lot of businesses to want to go there. And then also, such a high buy-in point makes it so that if you're a business that gets there, it's a lot harder to actually turn a profit at these events. Now, I know like $100 for 16 hours of operating time and with everything else that they might do or bring in sounds like a really great deal, but when they only have about 20 vendors, 4 or 5 food trucks, and then everything else is relied on a car show that was the first day in the morning, and then musical performances throughout the day. It doesn't, and it's such a hot weekend, it didn't bring in a huge amount of foot traffic, in my opinion, for what that price was. Another way to compare it is the normal farmers market that we do, they average about 500 people. Let's just say, like, as a clean number, I think it's like maybe 475 to 525 in that range per market every Saturday. It's a 4-hour event, and it's like a $5 fee for us to get in. So sales wise, we did good, but I think there's another part of why we did so well in sales. I think the reason that we did so well on sales is because there was nobody that had anything else like us there. The only other painters were like people who were retired, and they did landscape paintings and things like that. I think there was one other girl who was about my age, at the opposite end, but nobody had anything that was really nerdy or hippie or another thing to say, the price point. I went down to one of the booths that was selling paintings. It was an oil painting booth, and their stuff was expensive, which is a whole different rant of mine about the fact that artists make it way too hard for people to support them when they have such high prices. I get you're trying to make money, but I had multiple parents with kids that came, because this is also at a park, that showed up wanting to buy stuff for their kids, and they were able to get multiple things because we have friendly price points. Like some of those paintings that are hanging up, the canvas ones, I charge $30 a piece. I make a profit on them, and people can still purchase an original piece of art from the artist directly. Again, that has nothing to do with the coordinators. That has everything to do with fellow artists and fellow vendors. And maybe they do events that are more high end and they can get away with those prices, but this was not it. Multiple vendors reported that they didn't even get 5 sales over the course of 2 days. My only other complaint from the weekend is that sign down there that says UGSM, we were not allowed to keep it. We were told, no, you can't keep it, we take them back. Which, like, if they take them back and give them back to the company that makes them so that they can reuse them, that's fine, but we weren't even given that explanation. We were just laughed at and told we'd have to charge you, and then they took it and walked away. And, of course, after multiple days outside in the heat, maybe everyone's not at their most patient, but seemed like a really foolish stance to take, and then, yeah, that kind of just didn't sit well, because if you guys have followed me for a while, you know I collect the signs of the events we do when I can. They didn't care about any of the signs that had the general dates on them, because those are still up all over the city, but the ones that had the artist names, they refused to let the artist keep. Keep in mind, it was $100 after they give us the rebate for this event. You could have let me keep the fucking sign. So that's the summary of it. I know this was a longer video. Like I said, we did really well. The high buy-in price for this made it hard for us to really turn a great profit, but we did have a good event. I do not believe we will be back, and it's not because of the sign or anything. It's 2 days at the end of June out like this and such a high price point. It made it really difficult. And additionally, like I said, we had some of the tea spilled that there's a lot of inconsistencies within the board in terms of one year it's super high-end bougie, the next year it's welcome to the public, and that's just kind of, I don't know, pick a lane and stick with it. And for the record, multiple people from the board told us that this is the way they've been doing it for multiple years, just they go all over the place. But I do think overall they put on a good event. The things that they needed to control, they controlled. A lot of the people who were out walking around trying to help the other vendors were really friendly. We did meet some people. We love doing that. And overall, it wasn't a terrible week. It was just so fucking hot, man. It was just so damn hot. So that's my super long summary of Arts in the Park. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, follow, share, all that good jazz. See you next time.